Nobody was supposed to hear this. It wasn't a press conference question. It wasn't scripted. It was 30 raw seconds right after Rory McIlroy walked off the 18th green having just lost, the kind of moment where players usually say nothing, shake a hand, and disappear down the tunnel. Rory didn't disappear. Instead, he said something about Wyndham Clark that he didn't have to say. Nobody pushed him on it. Nobody baited him into it. He brought it up himself, in the rawest window a player gets all week, right after the loss, before the spin, before the PR training kicks back in. And what he said is now tearing the golf world in half. Here's what makes this different from every other player reacts clip you've scrolled past this year. Rory never once said the word cheating. He never said washed. He didn't have to. What he actually said was quieter than that, and somehow more damaging. I'm going to play you exactly what he said in a minute. But first you need 2 years of context, because without it, his 7 seconds sound like nothing. With it, they sound like a verdict. Let's get into it. To understand why one offhand comment from Rory McIlroy is causing this much chaos, you need to understand what Wyndham Clark has been carrying around for 2 years. Because this didn't start at the BMW Championship. This started long before that, and it's uglier than most fans remember. Clark is a 2-time major champion. Let that sink in for a second because it's easy to forget when you look at how he's talked about online. He beat Rory McIlroy at the 2023 US Open. He beat the field again at Shinnecock Hills in 2026. By almost any measure, this is one of the better American golfers of his generation. So why does his name keep showing up next to the word cheat? It starts at Bay Hill. Clark's tee shot finds the rough during the 3rd round of the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He addresses the ball, presses his club down behind it, not once, but several times, and slow-motion replay shows the ball shifting slightly in the process. In real time, nobody on the course thought twice about it. Scottie Scheffler, playing right alongside him, didn't flag it. The rules official reviewed the footage and ruled there wasn't enough movement to penalize. But golf fans watching in 4K on their couches saw something different. Within the hour, the clip was everywhere. Zoomed in, slowed down, captioned with question marks and worse. Clark had to sit in a press room and explain himself, insisting he wasn't trying to improve his lie, that the camera made a routine motion look far worse than it was. He even admitted he'd been doing that same practice motion for years without anyone calling him out on it. Maybe that's true. But once a clip like that starts circulating, explanations don't travel nearly as fast as suspicion does. And then, almost unbelievably, it happened again. Same tournament, 1 year later. A free drop from an embedded lie in the middle of the fairway. Again, no penalty. Again, fans weren't buying it, with some pointing out they'd never seen another player make that exact practice swing before taking relief. Clark pushed back hard this time, calling the rule itself unfair. 2 Bay Hills, 2 controversies, 0 penalties, and a reputation that had already hardened into something no scorecard could fix. Then came the temper. Trashed lockers at Oakmont during the 2025 US Open. A smashed sign at the PGA Championship a month earlier. Fans didn't hold back. Immature, some called him. One fan flatly said it was worse than anything Rory McIlroy has ever done on a golf course. So by the time this season rolled around, Wyndham Clark wasn't just a 2-time major champion anymore. He was a walking controversy with a trophy case. And that's the exact reputation Rory McIlroy was standing next to when he opened his mouth at the BMW Championship. Now here's where it starts to get interesting. Because before any of this happened, Rory had already made his position painfully clear. Ask yourself, why would a guy publicly rule himself completely out of a race, with 0 hedging, unless he was 100% sure how it was going to end? Heading into the BMW Championship, McIlroy was asked point-blank about the Player of the Year race. He didn't dodge it. He didn't play diplomat. He said flatly that he had no chance, that it was Scottie Scheffler's award, full stop. Wyndham Clark's name didn't even come up in the sentence. Keep that in your head, because it's about to matter a lot. Sunday arrives. Clark builds a 5-shot lead early. Then Rory McIlroy, the guy who just told the world he wasn't even in this conversation, starts clawing it back, shot by shot, until the two of them are tied at the top of the leaderboard walking to the 11th hole. This is the moment. The kind of head-to-head collision that either cements a career or exposes one. Think about the pressure sitting on Wyndham Clark's shoulders in that exact instant. A five-shot cushion, gone. McIlroy, one of the most dangerous closers alive, breathing down his neck with a major championship resume and nothing left to prove. Every instinct says, protect the lead, play safe, make pars, and hope Rory blinks first. Clark did the opposite. Birdie on 16, birdie on 17, birdie on 18. Three doors slammed shut, one after another, with McIlroy given no window to walk through. Final margin, 3 strokes over Patrick Cantlay. Rory left standing there, watching a guy he'd just publicly written off close him out in the most emphatic way possible. And that's when the real story started, because what Rory said next, in the minutes right after that finish, is the 7 seconds everyone's still talking about. Sitting down with CBS Sports' Amanda Balionis moments after the round, Rory did something players almost never do on camera. He admitted he'd been wrong. He said essentially that his earlier comments dismissing himself, and by extension, dismissing the idea that anyone but Scottie Scheffler mattered in this race, were said a little bit in jest. A little bit for effect, back when Scheffler's dominant run made the conversation feel settled. But watching Clark close out 3 straight birdies to beat him head-to-head, that changed something. Rory said if Clark keeps playing the way he just did, Player of the Year stops being a formality and becomes an actual conversation. Here's the 7 seconds. Not the golf, the part after it. Because in that same interview, Rory didn't just talk about who's playing the best golf. He brought up something almost nobody expected him to bring up. The idea that Player of the Year isn't only about the scorecard. It's about the player's values, his character, the kind of season it's been on and off the golf course, not just how many trophies are sitting in the case. He didn't say Wyndham Clark's name when he said it, he didn't have to. Because everybody in that press room, everybody watching at home knew exactly what values was code for. Bay Hill, the embedded ball, the trashed lockers. 2 years of a reputation Clark has been trying to outrun with his golf clubs. Rory McIlroy, intentionally or not, just reminded an entire sport that Player of the Year isn't only decided by who closes with 3 birdies. It's decided by voters who remember everything else too. That's the version most people missed the first time they watched the clip. Read it slowly, and there are 2 completely different ways to hear it. Version 1, pure respect. One champion tipping his cap to another after getting outplayed in the biggest moment available, while making a fair point about how the award actually works. Version 2 is a lot less flattering. In this version, Rory just handed every voter on tour a polite, deniable way to keep punishing Wyndham Clark for a reputation he's never technically been penalized for. No rules official ever gave him a stroke for Bay Hill. No suspension ever came down for Oakmont. But if values quietly becomes part of the Player of the Year conversation, Clark could lose an award he statistically deserves, for controversies that, on paper, never actually cost him anything. That's not a small thing. That's one of the 6 best golfers of his generation, in 7 seconds, connecting Clark's best season ever to the exact baggage Clark has spent 2 years trying to leave behind. And the internet noticed immediately. Because the second that clip started circulating, a huge chunk of the golf community didn't hear Rory respects Clark's game. They heard something colder. Even Rory isn't ready to let the cheating talk go. Even Rory thinks the trophy case doesn't erase it. So which version is true? Honestly, probably both, at the same time, which is exactly why this clip won't stop trending. Here's the part most highlight packages are going to miss completely. Wyndham Clark's career has quietly become a referendum on how golf fans process controversy in real time. Every time he wins, someone brings up Bay Hill. Every time he's in contention, someone resurrects the embedded ball. Every time he shows a flash of emotion on the course, Oakmont gets dragged back into the conversation. The wins keep piling up. The doubt refuses to leave. And now the most respected voice in the sport, not named Tiger Woods, has publicly admitted, on camera, that he doubted Clark right before Clark went out and made him look wrong. That's not just a golf story anymore. That's a referendum with a countdown clock attached to it, because there's exactly 1 tournament left to settle it. There's also a layer to this that most fans arguing in the comments haven't even considered yet. Player of the Year isn't decided by clicks or highlight reels. It's voted on by fellow players and select media, the same locker room that watched Clark grind through 2 brutal seasons of headlines he never wanted. Which means when Rory brings up values, he's not just making an offhand comment. He's telling you in real time how at least one voter is actually weighing this decision. And if that's how one voter thinks, it's very likely not the only one. Meanwhile, Wyndham Clark himself has said almost nothing. Asked directly about the award after his win, he brushed right past it. Said he wasn't thinking about Player of the Year at all, just trying to get back into contention and make it to East Lake. No victory lap, no shots fired at his doubters. Which might be the smartest move he's made all season, because every single time Clark has clapped back at critics in the past, it's only added fuel to the fire. This time, he let 3 closing birdies do the talking, and let Rory McIlroy do the rest for him. If you want proof this thing has split the fan base clean in half, you don't have to look any further than what happened the second clips of Rory's interview started circulating. One side is done arguing. Their point is simple. Wyndham Clark has now beaten Rory McIlroy head-to-head, on 2 different courses, in 2 different years, with everything on the line both times. At some point they say, that stops being luck and starts being a pattern you can set your watch to. The other side isn't letting go that easily, and their argument cuts deeper than most people expect. Rory only changed his tune, they say, after he lost. Nobody was calling Clark washed last week when Scheffler was the story. The moment Clark delivered, the narrative flipped overnight, and now everyone's pretending they saw it coming. One hot closing stretch, they argue, doesn't erase Bay Hill. Doesn't erase the embedded ball, doesn't erase Oakmont. They'll believe it when he backs it up again, clean, controversy-free, not just once. Both sides have a real point buried in there. That's exactly what makes this impossible to look away from. Most weeks in golf, it's just birdies and bogeys and nobody outside the leaderboard cares. This week, it's personal. And it's about to get a lot more personal in a hurry. So where does all of this leave us with one tournament left to play? Scottie Scheffler is still very much alive. He's got the consistency, the top 5 finishes, the resume most players spend a career chasing. But for the first time all season, he's not the only name in the room. And Rory McIlroy just handed Wyndham Clark something worth more than any single trophy. Public proof that the race is closer than anyone was willing to admit a week ago. Here's the question nobody can answer yet. If Clark shows up at East Lake and finishes the job, does the washed narrative disappear for good? Or does it just go quiet until the next controversy gives it a reason to come roaring back? Because that's the tension sitting underneath this entire story, and it has almost nothing to do with whether Wyndham Clark can play golf. Everybody already knows he can play golf. The real question is whether the golf world is ready to let him have this, completely, without the asterisk trailing behind him. Rory McIlroy, whether he meant to or not, just put that exact question on the table for every single fan to fight about. And depending on what happens at East Lake, we may be about to find out the answer for good. So here's what I need to know from you. Do you think Rory's comments were genuine respect or damage control after getting beat? And is the washed narrative around Wyndham Clark finally dead, or is East Lake about to bring it right back with a vengeance? Drop your take in the comments below. I'm reading every single one, and I already know this comment section is about to turn into an all-out war. If this breakdown gave you something to think about, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and get ready. Because this Player of the Year race isn't just alive. It might be the closest one we've seen in years.